45. Brown, 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, American Football Australia head office, NFL Australia head office, ABC studios, worldwide. We are trending, and what a bloody grouse weekend we've had of football so far. 1 game to go. I think it lived up to the hype this weekend. We've had snow games, we've had blowouts, we've had teams clinching, we've had teams be eliminated from the playoffs. We've had all 3 of our teams get the W, which is even better. Incredible Thanksgiving weekend. Joining us, as always, in his Western wing at Danny Webb, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
What more can you ask for on Thanksgiving weekend of football? That was it. Perfection.
Except for being the Bears. But we'll get onto that shortly. Joining us in his Eastern wing of his household at... I actually don't even know what your Instagram or Twitter handle is. We'll have to put that out there.
Pick. At Charlie Pick.
Charlie Pick. But yeah,
Charlie
whatever.
Pick. At Charlie Pick. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Excellent. It was a great weekend of footy. And I have an American side of my family, so I did actual Thanksgiving. I did a turkey on Sunday. And if anyone needs a good turkey recipe, I'm your guy. Completely nailed the turkey. So there you go.
So what you're saying to us is next year Thanksgiving, Charlie's house.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just be there.
Absolutely. It would be a big step up, and you guys are going to have to hang with my parents. But yeah, go for it. It's good.
That's fine. I'll even check the dates. We might not be working.
It'll be my first ever Thanksgiving turkey ever. So I'm in. I'm all in.
Just turkey, though, not a turducken like a John Madden?
No, I don't do the turducken. No, I do a straight up turkey. I also do candied yams, which I go all out, which is sweet potatoes with marshmallows melted on top.
Wow.
And it sounds full on, but it's a really delicious business. Trust me. It's a good thing.
My teeth are already hurting just thinking of candied yams.
It's very sweet. It's very American.
All right. It was an incredible Thanksgiving game, first 3 games of the weekend. But the first one, I think, was the most interesting, especially the most interesting finish. I've already mentioned it. The Bears, they've actually moved on. They've fired Matt Eberflus after an incredible finish. I was watching it live thinking, what the actual fuck is going on? So I'm not surprised that it did finish. The Bears couldn't get the job done when they should have really taken it to overtime. 30 seconds left, in field goal range. Took a sack, but still had a timeout that they could take. They didn't. It was incredible to watch. And the Lions managed to hold on to be 11-1, Danny.
Yeah, crazy, absolute crazy scene. So it's not really surprised that he got fired because he was literally sitting there looking, and Caleb's like looking at him, and he's like, all right, I guess we're running this play here now. And then, Caleb just had a Hail Mary chance at the end zone because the time was going to expire by the time the ball was caught. Like, it was done. 100% should have had a timeout there. That was his only option. And then take the game to overtime and see what you can do. But yeah, so wild, absolutely wild scenes. But good on the Bears for actually getting that close to this Lions team as well, because we've been talking that they've been the most dominant team in football. And to actually be within a field goal at the final 30 seconds is quite impressive.
Yeah, I thought they stood up pretty well against the Lions. And I think that it was a massive Eberflus issue at the end as well, particularly because you've got a rookie quarterback. It's a high pressure situation, and do you know? I think if that was a Mahomes or a Burrow, they would have called a timeout themselves. Like they would have felt like they had the authority to call a timeout in that moment. But you've got a rookie quarterback. He's trying to call trying to call hurry up plays and keep it. Like he's signaling, but he is looking at the coach, going, "What are we doing here?" And it's too much to expect a rookie to go, "Do you know what? I'm going to call the timeout," and that I think is. That's the Eberflus experience this year with Caleb Williams in so many ways. It's the coach's weakness has really cost some big moments for a rookie quarterback who could have taken huge confidence out of tying this one up, taking it to overtime against like you say, the leaders of the NFC, the most dominant team around at the moment, and the coach has got to go. Like because we had the debacle a few weeks ago where they, once again, poor clock management at the end of the game, didn't have confidence in the quarterback, and lost another game by a field goal as well. So they do have to move on because there's nothing there after that loss for the Bears to really stick with Eberflus for.
No, they take huge confidence in actually staying in the game, but you lose all of that confidence in the last 30 seconds. So I can't remember who the commentator was, but he was a former QB. He's like, I could have run 4 plays in those 30 seconds. And, even if they didn't take the timeout, just get a check down play, an out route that takes him out. Like, there's still heaps of options that they did have. But like you said, on the shoulders of number 1 draft pick, but a rookie that hasn't been in that situation, and obviously they haven't trained for that situation properly anyway. It was diabolical to watch, and I couldn't, even just throwing that bomb, like, he had 3 seconds left when he snapped it. Like, it took 28 seconds to run the play. It was just like, what the bloody hell is going on here? So, awesome to watch because it was just comical in the end. And it was I believe, I could be wrong, don't fact check me, the 4th head coach that's been fired when they've taken a QB first round of the draft. So,
I was going to say, is it a QB curse, but also is it a little bit of a hard knocks curse as well? Because the Jets had it last season. Rob Saleh got fired this season. Bears had it this season. Matt Eberflus is gone. There might be something in the waters here.
Yeah. I can't even think. I think the Lions had it a couple of seasons ago, and they're still going pretty well.
Yeah, but the Lions, I don't know. The Lions were at absolute
rock. They couldn't get anywhere.
Rock bottom rebuild. It was the start of the rebuild. I remember Dan Campbell's doing metaphors with dusty pants, and you got to shake the losing off you. Like, that's how desperate they were when it started. So there was only one way, and that was up for the Lions at that point.
Was it Hutchison was doing the Michael Jackson singing, and
yeah,
that was actually a great season. Now that I think about it, but yeah,
everyone's second team, the Lions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, even mine, which sucks.
Yeah.
Another game that day, actually. Oh no, it was the Saturday game, the Friday. Not Good Friday. The
Black Friday.
Black Friday game for the Americans. Kansas City playing against the Raiders. Another game that at the very end, I don't know how they do it. They're 11-1, but they've had 4 games. Most notably, the Ravens game. I think there was a stuff up in the Bills game. This game, the Broncos field goal game. They just keep winning, this Kansas City team, and they've managed to clinch a spot in the playoffs, Charlie. Again, 11-1 and just not convincing.
Not convincing at all. And there was a lot of controversy about the last play. If you didn't see it, it's worth watching the last 2 minutes of that, because the Raiders, they did an incredible job of marching down the field with a chance to take that game, and they really, like, Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, was so composed under pressure, and it was actually really impressive. He was making big throws, and he was just getting first downs repeatedly with some big chunk plays. And then the ball was snapped when he wasn't ready. I think, am I right?
Looking.
Like, he wasn't even looking. The left guard looked like he was signaling to the center to hold it, but he used the same signal to snap it. Ball gets snapped up, bounces off Aiden O'Connell, and that's it. But there were flags on the play. Obviously, Raiders fans are like, that should have been called dead. There should have been another play. I'll say AFC East fans, like Buffalo Bills fans, are screaming that the refs are on the side of the Chiefs again. That's common trope for the old AFC East. They don't, they're in the 1 seed at the moment. And yes, if you win the most games out of everyone, you deserve to be in the 1 seed, but they don't look like a team that deserves to be 11-1 at this stage. And they are heading into a stretch where they've got some serious opponents like the Steelers coming up, the Chargers, who I think will give them more trouble than they have in previous years. You wonder, is the moment coming where the dam breaks and all those mistakes on the Chiefs side actually add up. Or, the way that they are not clicking finally add up. Their defense, I have to say, is not what it was last year. Last year, they won a championship because their defense was just so difficult to play against and always got the job done. And that is not what they have this time around.
Or do they do what the Chiefs do every single year and manage to switch everything on in playoffs, offense and defense? Who knows? But the flags that were thrown was super interesting. So the ref on the far side of the field clearly signaled for a false start. And then they came together and had a little chat like, nah, it was an illegal shift. Let's give the ball to the Chiefs. So there's no surprise why everyone's in uproar about it. The NFL has actually had to come out and do like a full media release about it. And they explain why they went for the call that they did. But yeah, definitely a lot of controversy.
Danny boy, I was about to say to you, we've said it every year that they just get to the playoffs. And then, the last 2 or 3 weeks before the playoffs, how much merit do you put in, dirty win is still a win. Like they're getting there, they've clinched the playoffs. So now they can start, like Pacheco's getting back. They're going to start slowly, hopefully for their fans, getting healthier. How much merit do you put in? A win's a win.
Yes, a win's a win, but exactly what Charlie was saying. Defense, I think, and as an Eagles fan last year, if your defense isn't sorted early enough on, that is really hard thing to get firing later down the line because everyone needs to be on the same page. Offense, I feel like there's a little bit more lee room here that you can just be like, right, we're struggling a bit, but I'm Patrick Mahomes, so come the playoffs, I'm just going to be Patrick Mahomes, and just be himself. And he has the ability to switch that. I don't know if defense and defense culture and their belief in each other can just be switched on that easily. So this might be the year, might be the downfall.
There's also their interior offensive line is about as good as it gets, but the outside, the edge positions of their offensive line, they're not holding an edge. They're not actually protecting him as much as they did previously as well. So all of that scrambling and creativity and the time that Mahomes has taken in the past, he is under more pressure this year as well. So it will be interesting to see if they can pull that together. And it's a real test of that, can Mahomes and Kelsey just go win it? And Kelsey's made some good plays. He's been playing well, but he's, I guess you could say last year he was pretty trash right up until the divisional, almost. He really didn't bring it for most of the season. So maybe he's going to come good.
Taylor Swift year last year, though, so he had all those dramas. Charlie, before we move on from this one, I can't really ask Danny because he was in this situation last year and his team shit the bed. Clinching so early, your team is actually in this situation. Clinching so early and having that 5 or 6 weeks before the playoffs start, is it a good thing where you can kind of start to be like, all right, we'll look towards the playoffs, or having those pressure games leading up, iron sharpens iron kind of things leading in? Because the Eagles did it last year. I reckon they were 10-0 and they'd clinched by week 11 or 12, lost 6 in a row and shit the bed.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it depends what you do with that moment. And, we're going to talk about the Bills game in a moment, but Josh Allen talking after the game against the 49ers and just the Bills have clinched a playoff spot, but they've also won their division. They've definitely won their division on the 1st of December, which is pretty incredible. They've done it without playing the Patriots yet. So one of their divisional opponents they haven't even played yet, and they've won the division.
The eliminated Patriots.
The definitely eliminated Patriots. But what I'll say is this. They spoke to Josh Allen afterwards, and I thought it was pretty telling. He said it's great that we've qualified, we've won our division. It means we can play free. And I think that's an interesting thing. But he then said, but we're after the 1 seed. So we've still got it all to play for. And they finish with Patriots, Jets, Patriots for their last 3 games, which is a nice way to rest some people with some, who are carrying a few injuries and, make sure everyone's feeling good before the playoffs. But we've got the Lions that we have to beat. That is a big game. It's a game that they are going to test themselves. I can't think of either the Lions or the Eagles as far as a tough team to beat at the moment. So there are still big challenges there. But if you don't have that reason to play, then I think you can coast. I think you've got to maintain intensity. Every game has to count. And thinking back to last year, talking about the Eagles, they lost every game after they beat the Bills in overtime, and the Bills won every single game after that game on the run home. You definitely want to be that team that goes, come on, we got it all to play for. It's all on the line. We got to do it. And those teams are always going to, be particularly dangerous.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be
way more important. Way more important to finish the season strong.
Yeah.
Way more important because you're going in. Everyone wants to win before they go into playoffs. So you might as well have 3 wins before you go into playoffs. So you're going on a high and knowing that you can absolutely destroy teams if you need to when it's all on the line.
You mentioned the 49ers and the Jets, 2 teams, their seasons are in absolute ruin. The Jets now 3-9, and an interesting stat I saw: the Packers, since getting Rob Saleh, are I think 4-1 since he's been on the coaching staff, while the Jets are I think 1-5 since he's been fired. So bit of a contrast there at the Jets and the 49ers, just injury after injury. For those, I feel for everyone who is in my boots that had Christian McCaffrey over 66 yards and injured himself at 58 yards in the first quarter. Danny boy, it's just their seasons have gone to shit.
Yeah. So the 49ers not in as bad a spot, obviously, as the Jets that are 3-9. So the 49ers are still 5-7, but the division's so tight they'd need the Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams all to lose multiple weeks in a row while they win multiple weeks in a row, just to even have a sniff. They get into the playoffs. It is a much tighter division and a harder race. And also, the 49ers just are not there this season. They need absolutely everything going right for them to be able to win. And at the moment, everything's kind of going wrong for them.
You would say that if Wagner was healthy and CMC was healthy, you give them a chance. You they would at least have the horses on the paddock to do it. With Christian McCaffrey, he went down, and it looks like a PCL. I think Kyle Shanahan said it was a PCL. He's getting scans today in Santa Fe to find out, if he can make it back later in the season. But at this stage, I mean, why?
Yeah, why would you?
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to him? And why would you risk further injury? And Wagner too was on and off the ground. There was a touchdown late in the game where it was Allen running through Wagner, and you could tell he wasn't right. He wasn't fast enough, and they're crucial pieces. And with obviously with Purdy carrying injuries as well, it's just a tough situation for the Niners. I think you can stick a fork in them at this point. I just don't see them getting back. But it's hard. It's hard to make the Super Bowl and lose and just try and run it back and just get a little bit better. It's always a precarious strategy. And I feel like this is a little pocket theory that I've got, is your truly great running backs. It's not often they double up amazing seasons in a row, particularly someone like McCaffrey, who has carried some injuries along the way through his career. It's very hard to have 2 big years in a row for a running back like that. So, yeah, it's tough for the Niners.
Especially when he's he carries the team in a lot of ways. They've got so many weapons, but it all runs through how he plays. So, yeah. Final words on the Jets, though, Danny boy. The 49ers, we can say that they're injury depleted. They're 2 games behind in their division, but probably 3 games if you're counting the divisional losses as well. But the Jets have just gone from bad to worse.
Who knows what's going on in this organization? Honestly, who knows? They fire people, doesn't help. They add superstar wide receivers, doesn't really help. There's obviously some form of problem deep internally with the Jets that they've got to sort out. They've got to find a way to sort out, and I really don't know the answer to that.
Oh, hang on. I'm looking into my magical Jets Oracle crystal ball. Aaron Rodgers. It just says Aaron Rodgers. That's all it says.
Is that the fix or the
It
curse?
just says Aaron Rodgers is the problem.
Oh.
That's it. Like, yeah, okay, the Jets don't have a great history as an organisation lately, but they fight everyone except the person who's the problem at the core of it. He's not playing well enough. He's not a good enough quarterback for this situation. He's too slow, and it's just not working. And you look at the teams that are doing well, whoever their quarterbacks are leading their teams. They're actually pulling a group of players together and getting them to gel. And that just doesn't seem like Rodgers' MO, and it hasn't been for about 3 years.
Yep. We don't have to talk too much about these guys, but it's just been incredible to see them go from literally bad to worse. So these guys they were up there as Super Bowl favourites start of the season if everyone stayed healthy, which they have. They haven't really had major injury issues, but just can't seem to string a win together, even when they were 2 touchdowns up, which is huge.
Just quickly on this, with the season going into shambles and they're getting pretty close to being eliminated from the playoffs, do you see Aaron Rodgers getting benched?
For who, though?
DeVito.
Bring in Daniel Jones. Just let him on the other side of MetLife. Like, I know he did sign with the Vikings.
Is their second string quarterback.
Yeah, but still, like, it's not as if you...
I mean, what do you... I don't know. I can't imagine that... there's been some expression like Rodgers says he intends to play next year, or he's thinking he might play next year, and the Jets haven't said one way or the other.
He hasn't said where either.
Yeah, but that's... it'd be insane for them to bring him back. So I would say, let's get your money's worth while you can. Keep him out there.
Try and learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
All right, Danny boy, I've held off for as long as I could, but Philly yesterday got a massive win. Yesterday against the Ravens in what ended up being a bit of a kicking struggle for one of the game's greatest.
Yeah, Tucker, major kicking struggles, and what a season to be playing him, or like at least in this little funk that he's in now. How good for the Eagles in this matchup. But also, I'd like to say that I don't think the Ravens are really playing up to take Tucker out of it. I don't think the Ravens are really up to the standard that are playing at the start of the season. Everyone was like, yeah, Ravens this, Ravens that. They're going to go all the way. It's going to be the Ravens year early on. But as we're talking about with multiple other teams, once they start struggling at this point of the season, this is the time when you really want to be kicking properly into gear and going. And I just really don't think the Ravens match the physicality of the Eagles' defense. Cooper DeJean absolutely flattened Derrick Henry. He's a rookie, and he smashed him. Derrick Henry, yes, I'm an Eagles fan, and I loved that play anyway. But I think any fan of football, any player that can absolutely flatten King Henry, and they call him a king for a reason because he just piles through everyone. What a play! What a man! So this defense finally switched on for the Eagles. I think Vic Fangio is doing amazing things, and they're believing in themselves, and they're believing in themselves at the right part of this season.
Did you get to see much of the game, Charles? Or
I actually saw quite a bit of it, and I thought there were a few telling things. I mean, obviously, Saquon Barkley is playing incredibly well. Went for another 100-yard game, and he's just so consistently great, and so hard to stop. And he's moving up and up in the MVP conversation, as we go along. A lot of people saying that he should be MVP, or at least he's contesting some of the bigger quarterback names. And the other thing, the Cooper DeJean tackle was a really great tackle. Also has to be said, Derrick Henry, 82 yards, but no touchdown. And that says that the defense is doing a bit of bend, don't break. He got some good runs on them. He got some yards, but he had 82 yards, no touchdown. Jackson had 79 yards rushing, no touchdown. And Justice Hill was nowhere. Justice Hill, who was quite busy early in the season, has gone very, very quiet. The one upside I thought was Andrews, who's a future Hall of Famer tight end, has been really improving. Had a bad start to the season coming back from an injury last year, but he is taking some great catches and getting high. I think he had one touchdown in the end zone, which was great throw from Jackson, but a really, really good catch, contested catch. But the Ravens defense isn't good enough, and it's a big problem for them. And there's definitely time to turn it around. They've definitely got quality players and could do it, but their pass defense has really struggled all season, and they have to fix that. And the other thing is Lamar Jackson. It's going to be annoying because I say it a lot, but he is in situations where he's not controlling the game, and he is trying to do too much. He actually is making what used to be Josh Allen type errors of trying to win the game with one throw all the time, but he's not on the same page as his receivers. He had to watch the game. There were too many passes that were 5-10 yards away from where the receiver was meant to be. So either the receiver's not getting to the spot or he's overthrowing it. But either way, his passing game is not where it was in the start of the season when everyone was saying that the Ravens were unstoppable.
You said it there, 82 yards for King Henry, and Danny come out with the stat probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. You keep him under 90, you win the game. So you did exactly that, and like you said, it was a very good bend and don't break kind of situation. And then Tucker wasn't kicking field goals, so that was a perfect design. Let's let him have those field goals, 50-odd yards out. He's not going to kick him anyway. I think it was even as low as 30 yards out he missed, he's missed 8 this season, which is his career high misses. So I'm sure he'll turn it around. I think he still holds the record for the longest field goal ever against the Lions a couple of years ago. So, he'll turn it around. I still think the Ravens are the kind of team you don't want to meet in the playoffs, but having them as, I'm not sure who wrote it down, but as September champs is very correct at the moment, because they were 6 or 7-0, and everyone thought, "Holy shit, here we go!" But now they're 8-5, and falling back in the pack, and realistically, a chance of actually missing the playoffs, which is unbelievable to think.
They are in a competitive division. You would say that the Steelers are definitely getting the job done in a way that the Ravens aren't. And yeah, that was my take. September champions. That's,
nice. It's a perfect take, because it's hitting the nail on the head where they're getting the job done early. But it's February when we want to be winning.
I also think a lot of people were talking about this game being like, this could be like a Super Bowl matchup. Like prior to this, like this week, everyone was picking the Ravens. Like all news media outlets and stuff were picking the Ravens. This guy sure didn't. But the Eagles also did this without Darius Slay, massive cornerback who makes a massive difference in every single game that he plays. And also did Devontae Smith still sat out with that hamstring. He went out to try and warm up, but actually couldn't get firing as fast as he wanted to, so sat out another game. So this was a depleted Eagles team that beat the Ravens.
Yes, congratulations on another AGS pick of the week. Your $2.38 Eagles. That's a huge get. That was a good one. All right, Charlie. Danny's had his turn. We'll move on to you now. Snow Globe game 2.0 this season. I love watching these games. It's so good to watch, especially when you see that kind of weather days out as well. Like we knew that it was going to be this kind of weather, and I think it still lived up to the hype of what kind of game it was, and your Bills just got the job done.
Yeah, it's interesting. Snow games are very interesting. Sometimes they can just be ugly and it's just a battle of wills, but sometimes it really reveals who the sides are, and if your team is good at fundamentals and able to adapt to the situation, then really great teams can play some great football while they do it. And at the same time, if your fundamentals aren't right and there's problems with your team, they will get exposed in a big way. And that's what happened. The Niners were kind of nowhere. Once McCaffrey started well, and they got some rushing yards early. They had a good I think their first drive they got a field goal and they were doing fine. But then the wheels fell off and they kind of just couldn't stop what the Bills were doing. And the Bills, they've been winning a line of scrimmage all season with their offensive line, but they've been running, and it worked perfectly in the snow. They have 6 offensive linemen, and they did it for over 30% of snaps, and then they ran the ball really hard. And it's a thing that the Bills haven't done for, they've never been that aggressive running team. But Cook ran 14 carries for 107, including a 65-yard touchdown, which was really great to watch. Davis ran well. Ty Johnson ran well. Allen ran well for a touchdown. And then I think Allen was something like 13 of 17. He didn't throw it a lot, but he hit targets and it was strategic. And who is it? It doesn't matter. Anyway, one of the passing touchdown. I'm trying to remember who it was that got the passing touchdown. I should just look at my notes. That would be a much better way of doing this. But it was fucking hell. This is good broadcasting. Good broadcasting. It doesn't really matter. No, it's Mr. Hairman, Mac Hollins. He just blanked on his name. But it was a tough contested catch. Like in no snow would be good, but they still played at their standard and were dominant for the whole game. The play that everyone's going to talk about is the play that really filled out Josh Allen's stat sheet. And it was a pass to Amari Cooper. They were in the red zone. It was a bad pass. Cooper kind of did well to gather it with one hand. And Josh had run into support thinking, this is such a bad throw. It could bobble up and get intercepted. So I'm going to be there to tackle and make up for it. But he ran in behind Cooper. Cooper, they make eye contact. They've never practiced this. This was not a plan. Gets romantic. And Cooper just shovels the ball up to Allen, and he runs in and makes like this incredible highlight rushing, diving for the pylon touchdown. And he became, I got to get this right, the only touchdown ever to have a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in one game.
QB. Only have a QB.
Only have a QB. Incredible stat, an incredible play to watch because, and it says where the Bills are at the moment, they're having so much fun. They're just having fun playing football. Amari Cooper's only been around for 5 or 6 weeks. This was not a trick play that they planned. It was just in the moment, improvising. And it just says that they are in a very confident and happy place as a football team at the moment. Sean McDermott is an uptight mofo of a coach. After the game, during interviews, he grabbed Josh Allen to do snow angels on the ground, and he's happy. He looks happy for the first time in years. So they've taken the drama out of the receiver core. The team is playing really well. They're physical, they're strong, and they're a good, complete football team. That is the story of this game for the Bills. Yes, they love the snow, but it could have been under a dome, and the story would have been the same.
And I do like that they've come out and said, a lot of Bills fans I've seen this morning, that their new stadium, $2 billion stadium, is not a dome. There's no roof on it. So
that's right.
They like playing in the snow.
Very smart play by them. I think they got it from the Hotspur Stadium, Tottenham Stadium. So it's actually just like 80% of the fans are going to be covered, not even all of them as well. And then, the ground's definitely not.
You definitely do need some people still able to throw snowballs at the refs. Yeah. That's very important for a new Bills stadium.
As long as there are only snowballs coming from those Bills fans. Yeah. That's the major thing. All right, one last story to finish off today. And Danny Boy, you've come out with a pretty hot statement. I definitely disagree with it, but the statement that you're trying to run, I don't agree with it. So you can run with it.
Is there realistically only 4 teams in the Super Bowl race, like the 4 teams that are actually going to be contenders? And my picks for that is the Lions, Bills, Eagles, and obviously you got to throw the undefeated team in there, the Chiefs, because they're probably most likely going to switch it on.
11-1.
Realistically, can we have a really strong argument for any other team making it to the Super Bowl?
Yes. We've got 3 teams in one division that are 9-3 or better. I feel like they have a fair claim to fame. And I actually had another. I wasn't going to leave it for the next, like the preview episode, but I actually think that the Lions could be toppled in the NFC North. That's my big take to come out by either the Packers or the Vikings. So that kind of puts a spanner in your only 4 teams in the Super Bowl race.
With the Vikings, I don't think they've necessarily been that convincing. Yes, they've won a lot of games, but it's not like they're absolutely dominating teams like the Lions are. The Lions are destroying every single team that they play, essentially, apart from the Bears. Divisional game, different circumstances. The Packers are slightly below that as well.
Oof.
It's getting harder and harder, I think, to look at these other teams and be like, I can confidently say that one of these 4 or more are going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't think I could say that with the Packers or the Vikings. I really don't.
I think there's a difference, though, between saying that you can confidently say they'll be there versus there's only 4 teams that are in the race, because I think that the Vikings and the Packers absolutely could ruin someone's wild card or divisional weekend. And on the other side, the Ravens are in trouble at the moment, but if they sort it out, they're still terrifying. The Steelers are utterly underestimated by everyone all season. And maybe their ceiling isn't that high, but Russell Wilson he's playing football that I never thought he would play again. And I think that he and Tomlin, it's like they work together as a dynamic. And, Wilson is one of those quarterbacks who needs the right coach, but I think he's got what he needs right now. They could ruin someone's divisional weekend. And I think that those teams can still cause enough trouble. Would I put money on any of those teams? No. But, and I think that, to be honest, I think form is pretty important at the moment. And you look at the Eagles and the Bills have a level of momentum and improvement and that gradual growth and build that they need. I think the Lions do have a big challenge now. They started so strong. Are they getting wobbly? And the Chiefs have to find their best football. So there's question marks, I think, over the Lions and the Chiefs, probably more than the Bills and the Eagles. But what's the name of your podcast, guys?
That's it.
What is the name of your podcast? That means this one is a long way from over.
Yeah, no, you've gone way too early on this one, Danny boy. I can't. I think it's going to all come out on. We'll talk about it in the preview episode. But Friday, huge game when the Packers will go down to Detroit and actually beat the Lions this week. So
now, guys, I need to be rude and jump off. I know, I think we got through everything, but I have to go. But I will be back for the preview game later in the week.
Yeah, we've only got one more game to talk about, and it's not a huge game to talk about anyway, mate. So we'll see you for our preview episode.
Is this the Broncos Browns blockbuster?
Yeah, it's the Bo Nix breakout game. I think that's what they're going to call it. So,
well, I'm tipping the Broncos, but I'll check you later in the week, guys.
Nice, Danny boy. We are going to finish off quickly with that game. I think the biggest thing that come out of it is Bo Nix is favoured by 6.5 in this game.
Interesting. Very interesting, because we've been talking about how well Jameis Winston has been playing as well. Like, he's not... I wouldn't ever say it's a done thing by 6.5, but the Broncos are on a little bit of a run. They're looking quite hot at the moment, so I don't hate it as a hot take, like not as hot as the take that we just had, but as a hot take, I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting game. I think the Broncos will get the job done, but 6.5 just seems like a massive line. And I've always been a big fan of Bo Nix, so it's an interesting game. Like, it's a real game. You're like, oh shit! 4 weeks ago, you go and Broncos 6.5 line, like that's outrageous. So yeah, I don't know. A good game, but it'll come out pretty quickly with the fact that we've had to do this on the Tuesday, that we're either pretenders and we know what we're talking about, or we're not.
I think another thing as well, which we haven't spoken about, Jameis Winston has actually come out and said he really likes the idea of staying with the Browns and truly embrace this like Cleveland culture. So it could be the best thing for the Browns to, keep him around, because he's playing incredible football at the moment. Yeah, it's going up against a rookie, your number one favorite rookie QB in a hot-fired Broncos. Yes, Charlie was saying it's a big blockbuster game. I think it's going to be still quite an interesting game to see how these two teams match up against one another.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be an interesting game. I'm going to tie the game, though. So I'm going to say the Broncos, but the Browns will cover.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well. Give the Broncos the win, because we love our boy Nix, and the Browns will definitely be closer than people think. I guess because the Browns are 3-8, going in against the 7-5 Broncos.
Their 3 wins are incredible wins. I know 2 of them, the Steelers and the Ravens. They don't mind knocking off a hot team.
Yeah, divisional games. Anything can happen in these divisional games. Anything can happen on any given Sunday. But they are playing in Denver as well. Another thing to keep in mind. So that little home field advantage, and hot fired Bronco team.
Yeah, need the oxygen up there. One we haven't looked too deeply into the game, but one stat I always love going is Bo Nix rushing. We've had him a few times. He loves to rush the ball. So if you do hear this before the game and you want to throw a couple of dollars, I'm not sure where you're going to put it, but Bo Nix either rushing yards or rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Always around that 5 or 6, I think.
And also, I quite like Cam Sutton for a long reception. So I think his line's 23.5. I'm probably tapping the overs on that. Just as a single. Just a little single bet.
That's it. Couple of singles, just make some money. It's good. So, all right, Danny boy, huge week ahead. Great week for us, really, on the podcast. Bills, Eagles, and Packers all getting the W. I was really just annoyed that you two ganged up on me and said that we're not making the Super Bowl. So both of your teams are in it, so you can get stuffed. But we'll see you for a preview in a couple of days, my friend.
Mate, I'll see you there. And the Eagles are just Eagles flying to the Super Bowl.